How you doing? I'm a floating head, and I'm going to talk about UFC 304 in Manchester, England. Um, Probably only going to talk about the main event in this video. I have Leon Edwards fighting Belal Muhammad sometime in the middle of the night or early morning in Manchester, England. Um, I've heard a lot of complaints from the English fighters about this, but honestly, if you wanted to fight at a reasonable hour, you should have won the war. Um, that being said, we have this kind of one-sided main event. People look at it that way. I don't think that's the case. Thing is we're going to talk about Belal Muhammad first because I think the UFC and a lot of the fans look at Belal Muhammad in a certain way, in a certain light. They're kind of, he's not the most exciting fighter out there. Sometimes maybe even a little delusional with the recent GSP comparisons that I've seen come across my timeline there. But I actually do think that he has a chance against Leon Edwards. I really do. And the reason being is, mind you, I think that skill for skill, there is a gap between Leon Edwards and Belal. I think we saw it in the very first or the only round of the fight that they had previously, where Leon's just quicker. He has better technique. I would say more weapons. Leon's a fucking sniper. That's what he does. If you stand there and if you fight at Leon's pace, like he's gonna tear you apart. And he's just gotten so good. Like his last fight against Kamaru Usman, even the fight against Colby, he's skill for skill. Like he's dominating these guys for most of the fight. So this is kind of where like Belal Muhammad's strengths play into this matchup. Like, I think that Belal has certain attributes. He's a very durable fighter. He's extremely durable, which is a skill that like we've seen guys recently get a lot of success for having this durability. Like Dracus Duplessis, he's a durable guy. His technique, not the cleanest, not the best fighter in the world, not the flashiest, but the dude is just there and he's in your face. And that is something that Belal Muhammad can do. So when you have a gap between skill level between fighters, that durability matched with like endurance and heart, like it kind of closes the gap a little bit between the better fighter and the not as good fighter, as like on a technique level. And I think that is what Belal brings to the table. I do think that Leon Edwards is going to win the early rounds. It just is what it is. Like he's going to be too good, too technical. He's going to fire off a million fucking kicks. Like I think that Leon is for sure just going to. The gap is going to just be very clear in the beginning. However, as we've seen from Leon's early fights, or not early fights, but just like previous fights, like Nate Diaz, Colby, even like the third Usman fight, he kind of starts to fade towards like the end of the fight. Mind you, it is like after 20 minutes of fighting, he kind of starts to slow down. And it's kind of that moment when his opponent kind of starts to take over. Too little, too late. Most of the fight has been won. He just has to make it to the final bell. He gets the win. But if Belal and his team can kind of game plan in this way where they are going to, even though you're going to lose those first few rounds, you're not going to fight it at the pace that Leon wants to fight. Like Leon wants to stand there, throw some sniper shots at you, kicks, punches, whatever it is, maybe try to trip you, and just kind of just fight at his pace, which is like a very measured pace. And he's really good at it. Like you're not going to beat him at that pace. If Belal can just kind of be in his face and make him fight at a pace that's higher than he's used to, it'll be, he can kind of start to close that skill gap. as Leon's cardio starts to give out, because that's the one thing about Belal is like he's not going to get tired, and he's going to keep coming, and he's going to keep that pressure up. So if this fight can kind of play out in a certain way where Belal is just in his face constantly, constant pressure, he's going to take damage. It is what it is. Like you're going to take damage. You just got to hope that you don't take that shot that's going to finish you. But realistically, Leon's not really going to finish you with his hands. He doesn't have a good finish rate in general. It's just, he had the Kamaru Usman kick. He has a quick knockout here and there. But most of his fights go to decision as well. So you have to pressure Leon and keep him on his back foot until kind of like the way that Sean Strickland fought Israel Adesanya. It's like, don't let the skillful guy just stand back and just display all of his skills. He's going to fucking work you. He's going to work you. It is what it is. Like, Belal needs to be in his face. And just kind of fucking drag it, make it a dogfight, drag it into the later rounds. And I would say if he can steal one of those first 3 rounds, then maybe, if he can put it on him in the 4th and 5th, he can steal a decision. But really what he's hoping for is to wear out Leon enough to kind of get him down in one of the later rounds and really try to go for the finish, which is kind of a big thing for a guy who doesn't normally get finishes. But the strategy is there. There is a way that Belal can go in there and win this fight. That being said, I think that on paper, Leon Edwards is one of the most fucking skilled fighters in the UFC. I think he's extremely talented. Skill for skill, like I put him up against anyone. However, he also, the way he fights, it's very safe. The reason he can do what he does is he doesn't take a lot of risks. This is also why he doesn't get a lot of finishes. I know the Usman one, big deal, one of the greatest finishes of all time, but it was kind of like a Hail Mary of a shot. He landed it. He did set it up. It wasn't like a thing that was just he meant to do that. And it worked. But in this case, in this fight, I think he really needs to go for putting Muhammad away early. I really do, which is going to be hard because he's not a guy that gets put away. It's just, it is what it is. But I think the gap in skill is going to be so large early in the fight that he needs to just go out there and he really needs to put it on Muhammad. I don't know how. He's probably not going to land a head kick. They're probably going to be looking for that. Muhammad got caught with that in the first fight and kind of rocked him a little bit. I honestly, not that I know shit about, what you should really do, but I would aim some of those fucking kicks to the liver, man. I would aim that left kick to the liver a lot because Muhammad's tough, but you start taking those shots, eventually one thing's going to happen. Either you're going to take the one that you can't stand, or it's going to at least open him up for the head kick. But either way, I do think that it's in Leon's best interest to try to go for the finish early. Realistically, the way that I see this fight going down is kind of the way that the Colby Covington fight kind of went down, where Leon is gonna win most of the early rounds and then just kind of survive at the end. If you were ever gonna bet an over on a fucking fight, this is probably the one, I don't know. I'm hoping for a great fight. I kind of think that that's how it's going to go down. I could be wrong. You can let me know. You can talk shit to me and be like, hey, you were way off. Can't believe that Belal Muhammad came out in the first 30 seconds and hit a flying go-go plata. Hindsight is 2020. But that's just kind of my opinion on what I think is going to go down. So I think I'm going to end this one here. I think I have to make a few more videos. There's a couple more fights on this card that I need to talk about. But I'll go ahead and just let this one lie here. And yeah. Peace.